Tips: discuss and select a solution. In the previous video, we looked at the first two steps of the problem-solving process, identifying a problem and developing a hypothesis, or precise problem statement. The third step of the problem-solving process is discussing and selecting a solution. Before selecting a solution, it's important to identify the nature of the problem. Teams should ask themselves, is this a systems problem? Do we need to put structures in place to support staff in implementing? Is there a problem with our practices? Are we using evidence-based practices? And if the intervention is being implemented consistently, are we getting the desired effects? Teams should also ask, is there a problem with our data? Is the data reliable? Does it accurately depict what's going on in the building? And what additional information do we need to have to make informed decisions? When systems, data, and practices are all in place, teams can expect positive outcomes. Some general guidelines on where to focus your team's energy are as follows. If more than 40% of students received one or more office discipline referrals, or if greater than 2.5 office discipline referrals are being generated per 100 students per day, then focus on school-wide systems. If greater than 60% of referrals come from the classroom, or more than 50% of office discipline referrals come from less than 10% of the classrooms, focus on classroom systems. If greater than 35% of office discipline referrals come from non-classroom settings, focus on non-classroom systems. If greater than 10 to 15 students receive more than 5 office discipline referrals, focus on targeted group interventions. And finally, if you have less than 10 students with more than 10 referrals, or if less than 10 students continue to struggle even after receiving group interventions, or you have a small enough group of students needing supports that you have the time and resources for planning and implementation, focus on individualized plans. The ABCs of behavior are a model for identifying patterns and building interventions. A, antecedent, is the stimulus that's presented before a behavior occurs. B, behavior, is the response to the antecedent. C, consequence, is simply the response that the behavior generates. It's important to remember that consequence is neutral when talking about behavior. If the consequence reduces the likelihood of the behavior reoccurring, then it's considered punishing. But if the consequence increases the likelihood of the behavior reoccurring, it's considered reinforcing. Antecedent interventions are designed to prevent problem behaviors from occurring. Typical antecedent interventions may consist of creating a predictable environment, increasing the likelihood of success, or using active supervision. Behavioral interventions are teaching interventions that consist of explicit behavioral instruction and opportunities for students to practice. When teaching behavior, consider having the adult who will supervise an area be the one that gives the instruction. Keep it simple and tie routines to the school-wide expectations. Teach behaviors that are incompatible with problem behavior. For instance, puffing out your cheeks while walking down the hallway, rather than telling kids not to talk. Consequence interventions are designed to intentionally reduce the effectiveness of problem behavior by providing immediate corrective feedback and withholding payoff for problem behaviors. Consequence interventions are also used to reinforce desired behaviors. Our target is to maintain a 4-to-1 ratio of positive to corrective feedback. When designing a reinforcement system, frequency, immediacy, value, and contingency are all variables that will determine the effectiveness of your efforts. Once you've identified your target, it's time to build a solution. A quote to live by during this part of the process is, "For every problem, there's always a solution that's simple, obvious, and wrong." We want to use the smallest, simplest action possible to get the outcome that we desire. In order for the simple solution to work, it's important to use a precise problem statement and consider all the potential solutions. Consider the following example. The precise nature of the problem is an increase of aggression on the playground during first recess by a large number of kids in order to gain access to playground equipment. To prevent the problem, you could have tickets distributed during first lunch for accessing playground equipment. To teach and define expectations, you could teach kids the process for earning and redeeming the tickets. To reinforce the new system, make sure it pays off when kids do the routine correctly. To extinguish the aggressive behaviors, make sure it does not pay off when kids are aggressive. Withhold playground equipment from students when they're not using the correct procedure. To correct minor misbehaviors and aggression, you could reteach and have kids demonstrate the proper technique before gaining access to the equipment. And for safety, students who injure another student due to aggression could be referred to the office for further consideration. Once you've identified your action items, enter them here. Thank you for watching, and see our website for more information.